We bottle fed this thing, my kids bottle fed him. You know, that's what makes it hard. Thanks, buddy. Yep, this way you can do it by yourself. Alright. I'm gonna have to raise him up well. So that works.
How long has it been since you have bought meat from the store?
Well, we haven't bought beef for 6 or 7 years. We've always raised registered herds cattle, and we always held back a steer every year, and we would either sell half and keep half for ourselves, or vice versa, just depending on the calves that we had. And so this is the first year, like I said, in 6 or 7 years that we're potentially going to have to buy beef. So initially we're going to try to harvest more deer a la that doe that's right there and supplement that way, but it's going to be an adjustment, that's for sure.
And so apparently you raised sheep for a little bit, for a year?
We did, for about a year, and we decided it wasn't really for us, and so we sold our sheep. And this one here we named Snoopy. As I was saying, he was a bottle fed ram that his mother had triplets, and mother had triplets, and she raised 2 and couldn't raise him, so we bottle fed him. And so this is kind of a bittersweet moment. I mean, we've raised animals for years, and it's always one of those things, you know, my kids know the purpose, the intent of having the animals. You know, they have a purpose in life, and that's the one good thing about raising our own foods. My kids have always known where their meat comes from, and they see the full process, not let's go to Hy-Vee or Walmart and buy a package of ground beef, and you know, there's no connection there to the animal and the earth, and that they get firsthand this way. So I think that's one of the big problems with our society today, is the disconnection between where our food comes from.
Is it hard to process your own animals?
There's always it's like, I don't want to say you get callous to it, but you almost, like, we care for our animals, and all of our animals like this one have a name, you know, and it's, you take the utmost care of that animal throughout its entire life cycle, but you know, kind of always know in the back of your head, hey, this is an animal that's going to be processed. Now we have animals that don't, you know, but yeah, it's definitely a challenge, you know, initially at first.
Some people say that this is cruel. Is this cruel?
I don't see how it's cruel. I mean, we did the most humane thing we could for this animal. I mean, he could have went to a great big packing facility, and I mean, you've seen the videos where they just shove them on the processing floor, and there's no care for that life whatsoever. I mean, you can't tell me this is cruel and then go to the store and buy a pack of chicken, you know, that's been in a whatever terrible setting, a cage its entire life. And I think if people would have the first-hand knowledge and experience, you know, then they wouldn't be saying half the things that they do. We're going to use every possible item off of this animal that we can. So it's not like he's going to be wasted, by no means. I remember taking my hunter safety course when I was 11. And I know for a fact from that point on, I'm 33 now, so, you know, do the math there, but I've been deer hunting for that long. It's always been a big tradition in my family, and it's something I'm continuing with my children as well. My son's 13, and he's been deer hunting for 5 years now. Luckily, he's taken, or 6 years, I guess, and he's taken 5 deer now. And so that's another avenue for meat for our family. We freeze. That's primarily what we do is we will freeze the meat. But actually, this year we're going to try. We like to can a lot of our garden stuff. And so this year I've never canned meat, so that's going to be a new experience for us. We're going to pressure cook and can some of our own deer meat. Actually, this one here is the plan, and we may even do some of this lamb as well.
So earlier you mentioned about going to Hy-Vee, going to Walmart and buying meat.
Right.
What do you think the price difference is from going to Walmart buying a leg of lamb versus, you know, raising your own sheep?
It's definitely cheaper to do it this way. I mean, raising your own is by far cheaper in the long run. But again, if you're going to go pay somebody to do the work for you, you know, you got to consider that cost. But it's like anything else. I mean, you're paying for that butcher to butcher your animal, but if you're doing the stuff yourself, I mean, it's 10 times cheaper to do it this way. Well, he ate good. Look at all that fat on him. Can't say I didn't feed him. So we're trying to get back to just straight grass fed. We had some grain fed stuff there for a while, and I mean, grain's cheaper. It just because all the big, you know, farming operations, it's grain. Everything's grain now. I mean, grain, corn is in your soda and you name it. It's everywhere. So that's why it's so cheap. And so it's cheaper in the sense, if you don't have the pasture. If you have the pasture ground, it's cheaper to have your grass. But if you don't have the pasture, then the grain is actually cheaper to go buy at the feed store, if you can believe that, than it is to go buy hay off of somebody. But if you take care of your pasture, take care of your grass, it's going to be there again next year. So, and I mean, these are herbivores. That's what they eat, is grass. That's what they do best on.
But don't you have to have grain to get good fat content on it?
Hey, you tell me. Look at all the fat. I mean, the back, he's got fat. Look at all that. I mean, that's a myth. Now, are you asking me if it's a race to which one gets fat quicker? Hands down, grain all day long. You can pour the feed bucket to them with corn and everything else. They're going to get fatter quicker. And that's why a lot of the producers feed their animals grain, because, you know, they look at it as a cost, an input cost, just like anything else. So if it's cheaper, if the grain's cheaper, it gets my animal fat quicker and they grow quicker. I mean, it's just simple economics. So, but the rest of, you know, everything else has to come into that as well. Is this the best for us, for the consumers, for the world? You know, just it's the full picture aspect of it that needs to be considered, just like anything else. This ram is actually a hybrid. His father was a hair sheep, a Katahdin, and his mother was some type of wool sheep, who I think she was a mix of two types of wool sheep. I don't know exactly what she was, but he was a hybrid, so he had partial wool and partial, like his wool wasn't as thick as, so, I mean, it's thick, but it's not as thick as it would have been. I had a bunch of weeds and stuff in my pasture that I was wanting to get rid of, and sheep are good at doing that job. They don't get enough credit. Everybody always thinks goats, but sheep are the same. Sheep do not just as good, but they do very well at eliminating a lot of those weeds that you're wanting to get rid of in your pasture ground.
Are you a full-time farmer?
No, I would like to be. You know, I love raising animals. Ever since I was a kid, it's always been a passion. Or, I mean, I seem like I always have something here. Ever since I've been old enough to be able to afford the animals and buy them for myself, have somewhere to put them.
So you don't have to have 100 acres to
No.
do something like this?
We have, you know, 3.44 acres and 2 acres in pasture ground. And that's more than enough to run some sheep on and raise your own food. You can run a steer on that, and, you know, I mean, you don't gotta, like I said, have to have 100 acres, even 10 acres. I mean, in my 10 acres is perfect. If you can get your, you know, separate everything out in the paddocks, your pasture ground, then you can rotate your animals and keep that grass to where you're not overgrazing. Ideally, that's the way to roll. So, but yeah, we just have 2 acres of pasture that we utilize. Like butter.
What do you say to someone who's wanting to get into farming? What comes first?
The chicken or the egg, or?
What animal do you recommend first?
You know, easiest thing for people to get into, start with chickens. I mean, chickens are easy. Gives them an idea, you know, if they've had a dog or cat or whatever. Chickens are the best thing. I mean, get into chickens. You know, you can raise your own eggs. We have chickens as well. Like, there's no comparison between a fresh egg versus a store-bought egg. I mean, you know, everybody today pays top dollar for organic eggs and farm fresh eggs, and I mean, be home fresh eggs, raise them yourself. Ideally, I'd like to let him hang and age for a few days. It's supposed to help with the flavor of the meat and tenderize it a little bit. And, you know, just like if you were to take this animal to a butcher shop, they're going to let it hang for a number of days, and everybody's got a different length of time that they recommend. But at mine, I don't have a walk-in cooler or anything like that, so I'm at the mercy of the elements. And as long as they keep relatively close temperatures range, that's cold enough, then we're going to let him hang. So I know, looking at the extended forecast, and I'm hoping to let him hang 4 or 5 days. I'd like to let him hang for a week or two, but a large majority of the time we freeze everything, but we've made a conscious effort to try to get rid of, we had 3 deep freezes, and we made an effort to get rid of 2 of them, so we're down to 1 deep freeze. So almost kind of out of necessity as well, we've decided to try to can some of our meat this year, and it's just another way of preserving your animals. So we'll use a pressure canner. Basically, you dice up your meat and dice your meat up, put whatever you want. I mean, you can put like a stew in the mason jars, carrots, potatoes, whatever, you know, your seasonings that you want. And then you throw your whatever meat it is, whether it's venison or lamb or whatever it is, and then you pressure cook it for, depending if it's, you know, quarts or pint jars, whatever, for the allotted amount of time, depending where you live. And then you got a ready-made meal that whenever you want, you can go and dump that bad boy out, heat it up, and you got your stew ready to go. So, and you don't have to, you can just can the meat. I mean, that we're going to do that as well. And then again, your meat's partially cooked. You don't have to add any water, nothing to it, because all the moisture in the meat, it has all the water it needs. So as you can it, it'll cook it out of it.
And that's how homesteaders used to do
That's
that.
how they used to do it, exactly. Yeah, that's because there was no other way to preserve meat. So that's a big thing. How, you know, a lot of people still do it to this day. You know, a lot of people that are off grid that don't have electricity, I mean, that's the way they'll use propane burner or whatever it is, and they'll process their jars and can their meat and vegetables, whatever it is, and that's how they can preserve stuff that then they can use the rest of the year. And it's good for a significant amount of time, you know. So. Oh man, just the gravity, I can just feel like it's just wanting to pull. So generally for deer, I'll field dress them out, you know, field dress out in the field. So I always do it while they're laying down in the field. It's lighter for them, you know, to get the deer out of the field, and easier that way if it worked. I knew that was going to happen. I knew it. Like, I was like, yeah, it's pointing at me. I know I'm going to get a hold of it here. Again, don't cut the stomach or any of the intestines, or preferably. There we go. Look at that right there, man. And you can see this is like an anatomy lesson here, you know. Your lungs and your liver, and I want that heart. That's my favorite part. So we're gonna be eating that bad boy. I mean, all this is edible, but there's the heart right there. And that's a people at work that I work with think I'm weird because my kids and I love venison heart, and we're gonna be enjoying this one as well. Just get it out of that sack right there. There it is. Like, that's kind of our tradition for our venison now, is, you know, it's like, don't hit it, don't shoot it in the heart. It's a very ethical way to kill an animal, but, you know, if possible. So that's the heart right there. You can see all the chambers, and I mean, again, this is a anatomy lesson that you can do with your kids. There you go. Cut away all this excess. It's just the stomach, meat. Look at that. That's beautiful. I mean, that's beautiful rib meat. I mean, you're gonna have good cuts of meat off this entire thing. Look how fat he is. I mean, again, he was eating good. That was just grass and hay. He wasn't eating anything else unless he was sneaking from the horse feed. So the next time, then we're going to come back and cut it up, and we'll quarter it up. And you know, we've kind of debated on what we want to do with it, but you know, these inside loins, that's the best part, and we'll cook them up. If you can actually see over here, excuse what it's laying on, but these are the inside tenderloins, they're called, out of my doe that I shot last night. And so we're going to eat this for supper. Again, kind of like the heart. The heart and the inside loins are the two best cuts of meat on the animal, in my opinion. And so that's, you know, kind of the delicacy that my family's going to get tonight. And, that's the front. I'm going to cut the ribs here in a second.
What's this here?
So these are the front two shoulders, which they'll call leg of lamb. And then you got your neck. Put that in there, slow cook it, and it'll be good. This is just trimmings that He's got me a pan we're gonna use to either make sausage, it's just fat and other meat sausage, or we might grind it up into our deer burger. So about right here, and then we'll have our other 2 legs of lamb as we'll split this and cut around. Better? Mm-hmm. Got that nice big loin, that's where all your meat is. I'm just gonna split him and take him. Tomorrow would be a week since we butchered him. So basically, these are the back hams, or whatever you want to call them, the back 2 legs of the lamb. So basically, I cut a roast out on each one, and the rest of it I'm gonna cut for grinding meat, and I'm gonna grind it into sausage. So I'm doing it, I mean, it's the leg of lamb, but I'm doing it for more of the freezer and preparation. It'll be easier to package that versus having that bone sticking out. And I'm just gonna debone this and use it for grinding, but it'll be easier to cook. I have a Weber grill, I'm just gonna slap that whole thing on there and it ought to turn out pretty nice. So that's a nice clean cut of meat, you know, that's the shoulder, your leg of lamb. It'll be good to cook.
How would you cook that?
Boning. So my plan is to grill it. I'm gonna season it up and then just kind of slow cook it on my grill. You can bake it or however you want. Put it in your crock pot, I guess. Let's just like style.